Hi, comic book fans. This is Joe. Welcome again to Anachronic Comics. Let me bring my guest right up this time because you know him already. We have Digital Dave. Hey, Dave, how you doing today?
All right, Joe.
Anyway, so we're here for episode 3 of 101 Dark Nights. Now, if you haven't seen episode 0, episode 1, episode 2, all right, and there are going to be more episodes to this. Dave, why don't you give our viewers just a little bit of a synopsis of what you've done here, and and how the shows have gone.
So this is a study that I embarked on, in which trying to find similar characters to Batman throughout the literature, and in some cases outside even the boundaries of literature. Episode 0, we actually focused on two candidates that were used by Bob Kane and Bill Finger as actual prototypes for Batman, where they got their ideas for Batman. This episode 1 actually delved into predecessors of Batman in going back as far as Greek mythology to legends in the from the British Isles, etc. So
that was really interesting stuff too.
Yeah, and also the additional inspirations by both Finger and Kane. Episode 2 was basically Batman and his compatriots, similar characters in the Golden Age. And that brought us, that we had about 23 candidates in that episode, and it brought our number to 40 so far. This episode will look at kind of like Batman spin-offs and like characters in the Silver.
Right, and as people know here, though I don't have the T-shirt on either of that, but I grew up, and most of my comics that I bought were during the Silver Age, where I paid 10, and I was really upset when it went up to 12 cents a comic book, because I didn't have a lot of money, and so with my best friend John and me, if we each had $1, although we used to duplicate some that we bought, we used to be able to buy, close to 20 comic books, sit on the stoop and read them, and now with 12 cents, it diminished the numbers that we could actually buy. So that was a little bit traumatic for little JoJo down there in in Greenwich Village in Manhattan during the 1960s. But I grew up with some of these characters that I saw in, because I get a preview of this, guys, that I saw in your list there, and some of them are pretty interesting. And the funny thing about it was, I remember, Dave, back in the Silver Age, it's not just Batman, but I think Superman and other characters, even like Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen. You often had other kind of characters that either were scientifically taken out of them and became a duplicate, or some other person that like Catman or something that looks almost like a Batman but has a different name and things like that. So I don't know how good the writing was there, but they had a certain routine that they followed quite a bit. So I'm really interested to see what you picked for the Silver Age here.
Okay.
So let's get started. I'll bring them up. I think the first one everybody will recognize. And that's Batman.
Well, that's traditional Silver Age Batman.
Right.
Not necessarily the 1966 version, but
no. But but there was a lot of silliness there in the Silver Age. But a lot of the silliness was, I don't know, just putting them in like really weird situations, where they're almost, I don't know, very unlike what the characters certainly are today. But
right.
But putting them in situations where on the covers they always had something like the character saying, "Oh no, Robin, don't do that. You'll reveal our secret identities," something like that. And then you read inside, and sometimes the cover didn't even quite match the story, but that's the
true.
way they did things there. Right.
And there were a lot of imaginary stories.
Oh, and those are the ones I love the best. It's almost like having these different stories that they have today, like Absolute Batman, Absolute Wonder Woman. You had things that happened that let the writers go ahead and just use their imagination within the auspices of what the stories and the characters were in those days. but they let them use their imagination and come up with stuff that was really, kind of interesting, at least to me as the reader. Sometimes they would be married and have kids. Sometimes they would lose their superpowers, or Batman would lose his memory. Different things like that. So that was
Fall in love with Lois Lane,
right. Have a crossover like that. Superman. I've waited long enough for you. Bruce is now my boyfriend. I'm sorry. People don't like that stuff and they think it's silly, but I love that stuff. I thought it was so great. When I pick up those books and I read through them, I just have a laugh all the time, and I think it's fantastic. All right, let's go to your first one, Dave. Let me bring him up here. I know this guy.
Yeah, a lot of us do. This is Batmite, and he was introduced in 1959 by Bill Finger and Sheldon Moldoff. He's a powerful imp-like being from the fifth dimension, like Mr. Mxyzptlk.
Right.
Unlike his Superman counterpart, Batmite is also a devoted fan, and he wears a makeshift Batman costume and uses advanced technology to help his idol. Usually that help turns out to be more of a nuisance than a help.
That's right. I remember that. As opposed to Mixie, he was like, he loved Batman and tried to show up and help him out and all of that. And, it was just like craziness that went on there with respect to that. So in this instance, it's kind of interesting because I think Mixie was obviously, was before Batmite. So,
yes.
So he was kind of like, and that's again what I'm talking about. Like the writers in those days, they took different ideas and tried to kind of repackage them in different ways. So this is like Mr. Mxyzptlk going over to Batman, but being kind of an opposite in that he loved Batman, was a fan of Batman, as opposed to always wanting to try to essentially hurt him in some way, like Mixie does. So cool. And a lot of their stories are pretty funny. They're good stories, I think, as I remember them anyway.
Okay. Yeah, they were.
Next up. This guy is new to me. I don't remember this person.
This is Mogo, the Bat Ape.
Right.
And he first appeared in Batman number 114 in 1958. He was created by Bill Finger and Dick Sprang. He was a trained circus gorilla who became the unlikely ally of Batman.
Oh.
After the Cape Crusader discovered Mogo had been sabotaged with electric shocks to cause a distraction for a robbery, the two of them bonded. And after following Batman to the Batcave, he donned a mask and cape to become the Bat Ape.
I don't remember that guy at all. Now, of course, 1958 is a little bit before I started with comic books, maybe about a year. But I don't know if you're aware. Do you know whether he appeared later on in the 60s in other comic books?
No. It would have been nice to see him in a Titano meetup.
Yeah, maybe. I'm going to look him up later on and see whether, because I used to read a lot of Batman and World's Finest and all that, and I don't remember seeing him at all. That's a new one on me, Dave. That's cool. All right, next one up.
This one is more familiar, Man-Bat.
Yep.
He was introduced in 1970 by Frank Robbins and Neil Adams. Dr. Kurt Langstrom debuted in Detective Comics number 400. He was a tragic figure in Batman's Rogues Gallery. He transformed into a feral hybrid after testing bat DNA serum on himself.
Why do these guys test themselves, like the lizard,
Right.
Why do they test themselves with these syrups?
While starting out as a supervillain, he evolved into a sympathetic anti-hero struggling with his monstrous side. He's often aided by his wife, Francine Langstrom, who serves as his primary confidant. And I think Francine also, in one of the books, takes the serum also and becomes a female Man-Bat.
So she can be closer to her husband.
Yes.
That's true love. Give me that bat serum, honey, so we can be together. All right. Yeah, we've seen him on and off. Okay, next up.
This is the Batman robot.
Oh.
And that you're right, Joe. The robot theme shows up a ton of places. This Batman robot debuted in Detective Comics number 281 in 1960, again by Bill Finger and Sheldon Moldoff. It was used to deceive the Night Owl gang after the real Batman was trapped in a mine by criminals. Wedge Dixon and Eddie Chill were the ones who trapped Batman. And though the robots present at Dixon's trial led to his release, the
Oh,
surviving real Batman used this, ultimately capturing both leaders and recovering their loot.
all right. Next one I remember all the time. This is really cool. I remember his first appearance actually too.
Yeah, and there are multiple iterations of this type of character throughout the ages, but this was the first one. Bizarro Batman, introduced in World's Finest number 156 in
Right.
1966 by Edmund Hamilton and Kurt Swan.
Right.
He is an imperfect duplicate of the Dark Knight. He was created by Bizarro number one, obviously the Superman Bizarro, to serve as a partner, mirroring the legendary team-up between Batman and Superman.
Right.
He carried a useless belt,
I love that.
which carried a collection of worthless items such as chewing gum, old cigarette butts, rusty nails, and banana peels.
Fantastic.
Instead of the Batcave, he operated out of the Bat Tower.
Of course.
And it wasn't much of a secret headquarters because he had signs outside of it saying "This way to the Bat Tower." And he drove a Bat Jalopy.
A batch of jalopy.
Right.
Very cool. Very cool. I mean, a lot of those Bizarro stories were the best in those days because basically it was comedic. You know, sometimes there was tragedy involved. You know, but when Bizarro number one tried to kind of mirror stuff with Superman, like having the Batman, you know, he had his own Bizarro Ray, I think it was, or some sort of thing, and he'd come up with these different Bizarros because he populated the entire Bizarro planet.
Right.
That way. That's the way he did it. All right, let's see what comes up next here. Who's this
Okay, so this is the Batman of Zur-En-Ar.
guy? Oh,
I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
sounds right.
Yeah, and it's interesting because this character takes on a different spin and a different life of his own in the future. But you know, that's for a future episode. It was introduced in Batman number 113 in 1958 by Franz Heron and Dick Sprain.
Mm-hmm.
He is an alien named Tiano from a distant planet, and he was inspired by Earth's Batman to adopt the mantle to protect his own world from extraterrestrial threats. Tiano teleports the real Batman to his planet to help defeat an invading race of giant robots.
Oh,
But kind of like Kandor in a way, because of the planet's unique atmosphere, Batman gains Superman-like powers, including flight and invulnerability. So now we have a different type of world's finest team-up going on.
Yeah, that's right.
He uses high-tech versions of Batman's gear, including an atomic-powered Batmobile, a rocket-shaped Batplane, and a Bat radio that allows for interstellar communication. The story concludes by questioning whether the entire experience was a real cosmic journey for Bruce Wayne or just a vivid dream. Later on that.
Like Dallas. Remember Dallas the Dream?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the next one actually surprised me. So I'm interested to see what you have to say about this. Okay. The next one that you say is kind of a Batman, I don't know, what's the right word? Wannabe? The Batman spinoff?
Alternative universe Batman.
Is Spock from Star Trek.
Yes. Well,
you got to convince me of this one now, Dave.
Okay. And I hope we'll let you be the judge.
Okay.
While they belong to two different universes, Spock and Batman share several core archetypical traits that make them remarkably similar.
Okay.
Both characters are defined by their superior intellects and analytical minds.
Mm-hmm.
Like a human supercomputer, Batman uses inductive reasoning to solve crimes, while Spock's Vulcan nature prioritized logic as the primary tool for navigating any crisis. Both are renowned for their abilities to outthink opponents. Batman is famous for his prep time and tactical traps, a trait he shares with Spock, whose natural cunning allows him to lure enemies into disadvantages. Both rely heavily on specialized gadgets to bridge the gap between their natural abilities and the high-stakes environments. Batman uses his utility belt filled with batarangs and grapple guns, while Spock's standard kit includes the tricorder for scanning and analyzing unknowns. He's always at his computer,
Mm.
like my wife says about me. They both struggle with internal conflicts. Spock is caught between his human and Vulcan sides,
Hmm.
and Batman manages the dual existence of the socialite Bruce Wayne and the Dark Knight. Both characters serve as the logical side to a core trio.
Okay.
For Batman would be Superman himself and Wonder Woman. For Spock, it was always Captain Kirk and Leonard McCoy. Batman's logic often was a stabilizing force alongside with the more emotional and impulsive allies that those triangles represent.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
On a visual level, both are iconic for their pointy ears.
Oh, come on.
A coincidence that led many fans to compare their appearances for decades.
I never thought of that before. That's really funny. I guess I could see some of the similarities, but it wasn't something that would pop into my mind right away. But now every time I see Spock with the pointy ears, I'm going to be thinking of Batman. I mean, it's like I said, I never thought of that before. That's interesting. Okay. All right, let's go to the next one. Also interests me because I was a big fan of this show, right?
So right. So
And the show is Dragnet, right?
right.
Okay.
And I got to give you a little. This was just a late entry.
Okay.
I happened to listen to a podcast called "The Great Detectives of Old Time Radio" by Adam Grant, and at one of the shows, he's rerunning the entire Dragnet series that he has in his possession, and he starts to talk about Joe Friday, and he says Joe Friday was the Batman of early radio detective series, and
just the
that
facts,
immediately
man.
put
Just the
flags
facts.
up over here.
He always just wants the facts. That's all. Just the facts.
Right. So, despite their different settings, Joe Friday and Batman are mirrored world's greatest detective archetypes. Both are obsessively dedicated to their missions, sacrificing their personal lives for their respective cities, Los Angeles and Gotham. They share a focus on forensics and facts over intuition. Both maintain a stern, deadpan demeanor and an unflappable professional exterior. They rely on more social partners like Bill Gannon or Robin to balance their coldness. Each operates under a rigid moral framework, whether it's Friday's by-the-book policing or Batman's no-kill rule.
The guy that played Gannon was Colonel was the second Colonel on MASH. What was his name?
Harry Morgan.
Morgan
played Colonel Potter.
That's right, Colonel Potter.
And in the radio series, Harry Morgan played criminals. He played other detectives. He played victims. So he had a role on radio in Dragnet before he moved to the TV version.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Okay. Another one that kind of surprised me, but I could see it a little bit more than Spock. I mean, if you told me that about Joe Friday, I'd say, yeah, okay. Spock, I was saying, what? Anyway, okay, let's go on to the next. Another Owlman?
This is one of the first Owlmen,
Okay.
at least in the DC universe.
Right.
In Batman number 107, which was published in 1957, he was created by Bill Finger and Sheldon Moldoff. In this issue, a young Dick Grayson is temporarily transformed into an adult after being exposed to a mysterious alien gas found by Superman. To fight a group of jewel thieves, Dick dons an Owlman costume Bruce had originally intended for a masquerade party. Dick struggles with his new adult body, nearly falling to his death after misjudging his weight on a flagpole and later knocking himself unconscious on a low ceiling beam.
Oh, jeez.
The criminals unmask him, but they fail to recognize him because they don't know what grown-up Dick Grayson looks like.
Right.
Dick realizes he still has a lot of growing up to do before the gas wears off, and returning him to his status as just regular Robin.
Now, it's kind of interesting that this happened because of a mysterious alien gas found by Superman. Quite often in Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen. Superman brings back alien stuff that Jimmy fools around with, and it usually turns him into something.
Like a
So
giant turtle or something like that.
yeah, right. So this time, Dick Grayson got to do it before Jimmy Olsen got the chance.
Yeah.
This is anti-Batman? Okay.
Yeah, this is Anti-Batman, and it was introduced as an imaginary tale in the World's Finest Comics number 159 in 1966 by Edmund Hamilton and Kurt Swan.
Okay.
Anti-Batman was the villainous alter ego of Commissioner Gordon. After being accidentally exposed to an experimental gas in the Fortress of Solitude, Gordon and Perry White, as anti-Superman, turned into rejuvenated, superpowered criminals. Their secret hideout was ironically located in a storm drain beneath Gotham City Police headquarters. Anti-Batman used an anti-mobile for transport and fought his former allies until Batman deduced the cause of this madness. The duo gave the dynamic duo a difficult time until Superman arrived with an antidote to reverse the gas effects and restore their mortality.
And again, this is a situation where there was something in the Fortress of Solitude, some gas, something that, and they use this trope so many times. They transform people. People that were normally good, like you said, became bad. It's just like it's a typical type of thing with respect to this. This World's Finest 159, I think 1966. I was in the midst of reading World's Finest. I have a bunch of them, but I don't remember this one. I must have missed this one. It's not like today where people try to be completists. You just went, when you had money, you went to the store and you looked at what comics were there and you bought ones that looked interesting.
Right. Or you bought whatever was out there.
Whatever was out there, right. So, okay. Love these stories.
Yeah, this of course is Nightwing, and there's actually 3 different people who portrayed Nightwing. This debuted in Superman number 158 in the year of 1963 by Edmund Hamilton and Kurt Swan. Mm-hmm. Nightwing was an identity created by Superman to fight crime within the shrunken city of Kandor. Since he lacked his usual powers under Kandor's red sun, he and Jimmy Olsen, as
Flamebird, yeah,
modeled himself after Batman and Robin.
Right.
Lacking bats or robins on Krypton, they chose names based on native Kryptonian birds. After Superman left the Bottle City, the title was passed to his cousin, Van Lee, a scientist who used advanced technologies to mimic superheroic abilities. Later on, in an imaginary tale from Superman number 166, the roles were adopted by Superman's son, Jor-El II, and Kal II.
Right. I don't remember that one. The son one, with the sons, with Jor-El II and Kal-El II. I got to go back when I'm back up north and look if I see, because it sounds familiar, but I don't really remember the story. So I got to check and see if I have that one, but it sounds very familiar. I love those Nightwing and Flamebird stories that they had. When the first one came out, I really got into it. I thought it was really a great idea because, Superman didn't have any powers anymore.
Right.
And that way, and Jimmy Olsen got to really be a real pal rather than a kind of a silly type of person in his own magazine. He was able to actually be heroic in this one pretty well. So great stories, I thought. Anyway, certainly the first one that I read.